This is Africa Tech Kin with DannythatGuy. Logging into biggest tech stories in Zimbabwe, Africa, and the world, right here on ZiFM Stereo.
Good evening, Zimbabwe, and welcome to the second episode of a brand new show right here on ZiFM Stereo. It's called the Africa Tech Kin. If the name has confused you a little bit, well, kin as in family, because as I often say, we are all a family, and technology is what connects us. So the Africa Tech Kin is brought to you right here on ZiFM Stereo every Tuesday, straight after the news at 7 o'clock. It's a Tech Tuesday. So we're going to be focusing on the week's biggest technology stories right here on this show. If you also want to watch this show live on YouTube, we're going to make sure that there's a video of it available together with all the inserts and extra information that gives you exactly what it is you need to have to understand technology as it affects us here in Zimbabwe. My name's DannythatGuy, and let's get straight into it, shall we? We've got a packed show tonight. There's several topics. You might notice a common through, or rather thread running through all the stories, and it has to do with your identity or privacy or protection. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. So first of all, we're going to talk about a brand new premium service that's coming from the country's largest money mover. That's Ecocash. They launched Ecocash Plus. Is it worth it? What does it signal for the future of money in Zimbabwe? We're going to get right into that. We're also going to talk about something everyone's talking about. The United States Embassy announced this week that they are officially going to be reviewing social media history of visa applicants. What does this mean? What does it mean for you? This is going to be interesting. We have perspectives from the ambassador as well herself. Finally, this is a story coming through from the Confederation of Zimbabwe Retailers. It is a story that came out this week about the prevalence of counterfeit electronic goods that are being sold here in Zimbabwe. So we're going to dive into that stark warning, and we're going to hear from the CEO of CZR themselves as they explain this. So the three big stories, plenty of questions, plenty to discuss. The number to get in touch is 0772-168-045. It's the WhatsApp studio number. Please let me know your name, what your name is, where you're listening from, and we would love to hear your contributions as we proceed with the show. Shall we get straight into it? Welcome to the Africa Tech Kin with your boy DannythatGuy. Our first story. Ecocash Plus, a new era for mobile money in Zimbabwe? Well, here's the story. This week, Ecocash announced through a statement that they sent out to media the launch of their brand new premium subscription-based service that's called Ecocash Plus. What do you get for Ecocash Plus? Well, they promise that this is for higher transaction limits. It's some integration with international payment platforms for freelancers and online businesses. They even speak of a small overdraft facility. Now, this is a pretty big move. For years, Ecocash has been a basic utility for most people here in Zimbabwe. If we actually take a moment to deep dive into the numbers, the most recent figures that we've received directly from Ecocash indicate that some 7.9 million people in Zimbabwe are active Ecocash users, accounting for over 95% of mobile money transactions consistently. In fact, in many months or in many quarters, that 95% becomes closer to 99% of total mobile money transactions. In fact, it's not an exaggeration to say that billions, literally billions of United States dollars flow through the Ecocash platform every quarter. So the fact that they've created a new subscription service is a big deal. The fact that it is specifically targeted at small businesses, small to medium enterprises, and freelancers, well, that's interesting because they've clearly created a divide between standard users and power users. In their statement, they also indicated that the required documentation includes things like a valid national ID, proof of residence, and a trading license, among other relevant supporting documents. What does this mean? Well, on the one side, the upside does seem to be a bit obvious, more convenience for those who are taking it up, some sophisticated financial tools that some people can use on their phone. It could be a game changer for some businesses. Perhaps you might think that as a small to medium business enterprise, you might not need to worry about a payroll solution because they promise that this is going to be something that's part of that. Say you have something like 10 to 20 employees. Well, maybe running payroll through this Ecocash Plus platform might be what's needed for you. Perhaps you have to handle international payments. Previously, if you were perhaps a software developer or graphic designer or something that was able to ply your trade through international platforms that gets paid by international clients, well, you would typically have to use a service like PayPal or maybe Payoneer to try and receive your payment, then transfer to your local bank account. As you can imagine, the bank costs are rising, the multiple fees that are incurred upon such a transaction. Well, they promise that you'll be able to receive direct international payments. We'll have to see if that works well, and it could eliminate potentially this complex chain of receiving international payments. Then, of course, there's the standard promises of making bill payments like ZESA, City Council, Zimra, etc. Now, this is interesting, but it does lead to a critical question. Are we expecting this to be the start of a trend where basic financial services remain behind a paywall? Does this mean that if you want to access some of these services, you have to be a subscriber? And that's just what we can expect going forward. It should be interesting to see how some of the other players in the industry will take up this introduction of this brand new service. And whether there is a thirst or desire for more premium services in financial services, specifically in mobile money, that are geared towards businesses. Some people have said that this is a sign that Zimbabwe's fintech scene is maturing. I would love to hear your thoughts. Are you keen on paying a subscription service? We haven't received the amount yet, but are you keen on paying a certain amount per month to be able to access some of these premium services? I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts. Is it a welcome innovation or just another thing that you have to pay for to make money for someone else? Interesting questions. I want to hear your thoughts. If you're going to talk about it on social media, please use the hashtag AfricaTechKin. That's Tech, Tech, and Kin, Kin, as in family. I keep reminding you all, we are all a family, and technology is what connects us. Interesting story in the world of mobile money, and we'll be paying close attention to this. At some point in the near future, we're going to hear directly from Ecocash themselves as they tell us about this new service that they announced this week. Okay, shall we move on to another story? I consider this to be our main story this week, and I thought it was a very interesting story. The one that has social media buzzing with talk. A lot of it seemed to be a little bit negative. The story. The United States Embassy in Harare confirmed that all visa applicants must submit their social media handles for review. Let me read for you the official statement that was posted on the embassy's X page. It started off with a somewhat dramatic statement. Every visa adjudication is a national security decision. The statement continues. Effective immediately, all individuals applying for an F, M, or J non-immigrant visa are requested to adjust the privacy settings on all of their personal social media accounts to public to facilitate vetting necessary to establish their identity and admissibility to the United States. Interesting statement. Before we analyze it, let's hear directly from the Ambassador of the United States to Zimbabwe, Her Excellency Pamela Tremont. Our news team earlier this week reached out and received this brief statement from her. Check it out.
The United States government is prioritizing the safety and security of the United States right now, and we are, like every country, responsible for securing our borders. So we are making sure that people who come to the United States do not threaten our interests or security.
Okay, so here you hear the justification. Just like any country in the world, this is a security standard. But some Zimbabweans have expressed worry or dismay about the implications of this kind of privacy policy. So first of all, before we dive into it, to fully grasp the impact of this new policy, it's good for us to understand the specific visa categories that are mentioned in this statement. So it mentions that there are 3 categories of visas, non-immigrant visas, that's F, M, or J. Well, what are these categories? Well, the F visa or the F1 visa is for academic students. This visa is for international students who are trying to go to college or university in the United States. The M1 visa is for vocational students. This one is for individuals who are enrolling in programs that teach technical skills. So you can think of things like culinary arts, you can think of things like beauticians, etc., etc. And then finally, it mentions the J visa or the J1 visa. That's if you're an exchange visitor. This is a pretty broad category, but it probably encompasses things like school programs where there's exchange programs, same with work programs, scholars, trainees, teachers, many more exchange programs that fit into these categories. So those are the 3 specific categories mentioned. However, the announcement goes on to say every visa adjudication is a national security decision. So as much as those are the 3 visa categories that are mentioned, we can probably expect that every visa application would be subject to this kind of scrutiny. So this statement clearly shows that the US as a whole, and especially the US Embassy here in Harare, viewing this as a critical component of national security. Your social media page is going to be considered as to whether you will be allowed into the country or not. Well, this obviously leads to the discussion part of this particular topic. We've heard what the official policy is, but what does that potentially mean? Well, on the one hand, we do understand that every country has to worry about the security of that country and its borders. So the United States is no exception. Just like every other country in the world, they will be concerned about who's coming into the country. However, on the flip side, if social media posts are going to be analyzed to try and determine if someone is admissible or someone poses a national security risk, what would constitute a threat? Is there a clear indication of who is judging whether something would be a threat or not? Is it possible that a political opinion, a joke, or perhaps retweet, repost, or a like could be misinterpreted by someone who perhaps understands culture differently? Listen, Zimbabweans, like many across the globe, probably spend a lot of time on social media discussing politics, cracking jokes, expressing frustration, perhaps expressing their opinions on socioeconomic conditions, the world at large, and so on. Is it possible that something that could be considered normal discourse within a Zimbabwean context might be misinterpreted by an American reviewer who's reading particular words and reading particular sentences and wondering what they mean? Well, that's something to be concerned about. It could be construed or misconstrued as hostility towards a foreign government. Well, we can debate this until we're blue in the face, but if you are going to be an applicant of a United States visa, clearly there's a technology angle that you need to consider, which is how are you using your social media? Well, if you're hoping to apply for a visa one day, well, the recommendation is to conduct a digital audit of your social media platforms. In fact, of your entire online presence. Take some time to understand the privacy settings on your Facebook, on your X. As I always say, calling it X is so cumbersome. On your Twitter, on your Instagram, on your TikTok. Make sure that you know what is private and what is public. Probably go through some of your posts, perhaps search for certain keywords that might cause problems, and protect yourself. The suggestion here is not to hide, but rather to be careful about the things that you will put on your particular social media platforms. It, after all, develops a digital portrait of who you are. And that digital portrait is for official assessment. Chilling words, if ever I heard any. A scary description for all of our online presences and a scary time for privacy. Very interesting discussion there. All right, let's take a quick break and we will continue shortly after this break as we continue with the Africa Tech Kin, your premier technology show right here on ZiFM Stereo, coming to you live every Tuesday, straight after the news on ZiFM Stereo at 7. Also available on our YouTube page. Make sure you go to ZiFM Stereo on YouTube, subscribe, turn on the notification so that every time an episode drops, you'll be able to receive a notification and watch it live on YouTube. My name's DannythatGuy. We'll be back straight after this break. Welcome back to the Africa Tech Kin right here on ZiFM Stereo. My name is DannythatGuy, and this is your premier Technology Tuesday show on ZiFM Stereo, where we talk about the week's biggest technology news that comes in Zimbabwe, regionally, or even across the globe. Today, we spoke about two very interesting stories so far. If you're just joining us, we had a conversation about the brand new product from Ecocash called Ecocash Plus and what it might mean for money movement in Zimbabwe. We also spoke about the policy coming through from the United States Embassy here in Zimbabwe about visa applicants and their social media history, with some very important suggestions on how you can protect yourself. Well, let's get into another major story that came out this week. It's a story about hardware, the type of devices that we use every day as part of our technology use. To give you a little bit of background, the Confederation of Zimbabwe Retailers this week issued a stark warning. They sent out a letter to the Zimbabwe Republic Police as well as to several other enforcement agencies that was warning about the issue of counterfeit electronic goods that were in the market. I'm going to quote some segments of that letter, but it is probably worth looking it up for yourself, especially if you're interested in technology and electronics that move in the country. This letter was addressed by the CZR president, the Confederation of Zimbabwe Retailers president, Dr. Denford Mutashu, and partly it said, "We are writing to formally request your urgent intervention and collaboration in conducting a multi-agency enforcement operation targeting these illegal activities, which have reached alarming levels and are undermining the integrity of the retail sector, defrauding unsuspecting consumers, and weakening regulatory compliance." Dr. Mutashu said in this letter that they themselves as CZR had also experienced the darker side of this issue of counterfeit electronics when they were affected by purchasing these things. They mentioned that they had bought several cell phones from a store in the central Harare district that malfunctioned within days of use. They went on to say attempts to seek a refund or replacement proved futile, with the seller becoming evasive and belligerent, clearly demonstrating the impunity with which these shops operate. Well, this story intrigued me, so I tracked down the CZR team. I actually managed to speak to the acting CEO of the Confederation of Zimbabwe Retailers, Mr. Tapiwa Marimo, who sat down with me and he answered some of my questions. So please take a listen to what he had to say.
The issue of counterfeit products is an issue that's affecting various segments of our sector, the retail sector. We are speaking from food, from gadgets, electricals, and even medical supplies. So this is something that is affecting a lot of segments within our retail sector. And on the issue at hand, that is the issue of gadgets and electricals, this is something that we realized as a Confederation of Zimbabwe Retailers, to the fact that more emphasis is being put on the other segments of the retail sector, like food, like clothing, and not much attention is being paid to the pervasive nature of counterfeit products within the electrical and the gadget segment of the sector. So this is something that we realized, also being influenced by reports from various consumers on the nature of the operations within this segment. And funny enough, this is something that we experienced ourselves. I think end of last month, for organizations, we purchased a few cell phones from a shop in our CBD, and just about 2 weeks later, they all these cell phones, they all started manufacturing. So this obviously gave us impetus to actually raise a voice and also heed the concerns of other consumers within the sector, to hit the call to government and other law enforcement agencies to this problem we have.
That was the CEO, acting CEO of CZR, the Confederation of Zimbabwe Retailers, as he was explaining their organization's position on the counterfeit electronic goods that are currently found all over Zimbabwe. And frankly, they have a point. I think who of us has not been made aware of some of the stories of buying a phone, a laptop, some kind of electronic device, perhaps in the city center, and now all of a sudden it doesn't hold charge. It sparks. Perhaps that laptop dies a week after you buy it. These things carry real risks that could affect us in much worse ways than just having our money stolen. But we also have to be honest about the other side of this coin, because the reason for this gray market existing, in fact thriving, is affordability. A genuine branded product is often 3, 4, even 5 times more expensive than a counterfeit product. If you're buying yourself an iPhone 16 Pro Max, you might be paying almost $2,000 available. But if you're buying yourself an ePhone, who knows? You're spending a quarter, a fifth of that amount to access the internet through a mobile device. So for a student, a vendor, someone who earns a lower salary, anyone on a tight budget, the choice really isn't between a genuine phone and a fake one. It's between a fake one and no phone at all, or a fake laptop and no laptop at all. Well, this is the argument that some have put forward. I also asked the acting CEO, Mr. Tapiwa Marimo of CZR, this same question, and this was his response.
I think the major issue that is within this segment is that there's a lot of deceptive marketing that is going on within that segment. There's no distinguishing between fake, refurbished, or original. Sometimes counterfeit and refurbished products are being sold close to the price of the actual original phone. And in most cases, without proper documentation, warranties, or refund policies, which leaves a lot of consumers stranded when these devices malfunction a few weeks or months later. So this is the issue that we are trying to raise, to say there has to be policies that guide how these operators function and how they conduct their business, for the consumer to be better informed when they make purchases.
In my opinion, very valid response. The issue here is the false advertising and false marketing. I would love to hear from you. Have you ever bought yourself a fake electronic product? Perhaps it's a phone, a laptop. What happened? How did you know it was fake, and how did it affect you? Please, we'd be very keen on expanding on this story. I think something that's probably very important for us to take into consideration as we discuss this is some advice on how you can protect yourself in ensuring that you don't buy yourself counterfeit goods when you're thinking you're buying the original product. I also asked the acting CEO, Mr. Tapiwa Marimo, to answer that question of CZR. And when I asked him, this is what he had to say.
The first point that is important is for the consumer to be aware of their rights, especially the Consumer Protection Act. What previews does it have to better serve them in their shopping experiences? Because a lot of consumers at the end of the day are becoming stranded with no recourse strategies. because they don't know the strategies to take and the steps to take to better enhance their shopping experiences or seek recourse when they are when then they find challenges in their shopping experiences. So the first point of call is for them to be better aware of their rights.
Some words there coming through from the acting CEO of the Confederation of Zimbabwe Retailers about how you could potentially protect yourself and how businesses in general need to start taking a little bit of care and paying attention to how to ensure that they are not affected by counterfeit goods, especially electronic goods that are being sold rampantly in Zimbabwe today. I would love to hear your thoughts. Please, if you have any experience with counterfeit electronics, a fake iPhone, a fake Samsung, a fake Huawei, whatever it is, please let me know so that we can continue our discussion on this issue of fake or counterfeit goods. Thank you once again to the CEO, acting CEO of CZR for his input on that segment. All right, that's pretty much our time for tonight. We've covered a lot. We've spoken about the evolution of Ecocash, the new realities of applications for visas to the United States, as mentioned by the US Embassy here in Zimbabwe, as well as the tough choices that consumers have to face in the electronics market and some of the consequences that come from purchasing counterfeit goods. 3 different stories, but all of them showing just how technology is deeply woven in our lives and how important protection, security, identity are to us. What is it that mattered to you the most? What did you find the most interesting? What feedback do you have on the show? Please join the conversation. We're available on all the social media platforms. Look for ZiFM Stereo on all the social media platforms. Please subscribe on YouTube. And if you're going to talk about this show, please use the hashtag AfricaTechKin. That's KIN, kin, or family. Because as I very often say, we are all a family and technology is what connects us. My name's DannythatGuy. It's been an absolute pleasure hosting this show again. I'll be back again next Tuesday, same time, straight after the news at 7 p.m. Make sure to join me next week. We'll be diving into some major news about AI projects that are happening on the continent and some other things that are also happening, as well as paying attention to the technology news of the week. So it's been an absolute pleasure. This is DannythatGuy signing out. Stick around as we've got some more current affairs shows programming coming up on the show this evening, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Tune in next time for Africa Tech Kin on ZiFM Stereo, discussing all things tech.